you have to kind of accept as an entrepreneur is what I would call the permission to fail, right? Like you need to give yourself permission to be able to progress, because progress is over perfection, right? Something done at 85% is something then not done that you would have done at 100%. So for me as an entrepreneur, you've learned progress is better than perfection.
You got to jump off the cliff and build the plane on the way down.
The general public is craving two things: community, because we spent over 2.5 years of not having community doing to shelter in place and everything else. The second piece of the puzzle, which I think is certain small businesses are tapping into, but not everyone is, and that's unique experiences.
High level, we're thinking macro, we're not thinking micro, right? But then that's where you have to build your team. I never chased the dollar.
Chase the impact and the dollars will follow.
That's right.
It's Mauricio Mejia live on YouTube.
All right, guys, we are back. It's Mauricio Mejia live inside of Studio B. And today, I'm not even going to do a formal introduction. We're not going to go into this whole, like when we were kids. I'm actually very glad and happy to have a good friend. I want to say a business partner, someone that we were able to create together and do some great things here in the heart of downtown San Jose. And our first projects that we got to work on were the block parties here in Silicon Valley. And I want to welcome Zach Waldren in the house. You're back, bro. You're actually the second person that has done a recap on this show. And you were actually probably my second or third when we started back at the old studio, man. So welcome back, man. I'm glad to have you here.
Absolutely.
You're looking good too, bro.
Thanks,
you look
man.
like you got some color in you.
I know, I need it, right? You know us, our fair skinned folk need it, dude. For real.
So what's up, man? How has everything been? It's been I don't want to say it's been a while since we've seen each other, but it's been interesting to see from where we started to where we're at today, where you're at today, and the pathway that you've carved out for yourself. Let's start from back in last year when we started the Block Party series in downtown and working with UVI. Obviously, we were both awarded the contracts. You were awarded, and then you hired me, brought me on board. I know when to follow, and I know when to lead, my brother. So it was an exciting time because we really got to create some amazing stuff.
Totally,
and to see where it's at. So let's go back to last year, man.
I mean, it's so interesting. Last time I was on here, I had just kind of started that entrepreneur journey, and we had focused about
you jumped off the cliff.
Yes,
I remember how nervous you were, but I said, hey, you got to jump off the cliff and build the plane on the way down. So,
exactly.
yeah.
We've been building the plane, and it hasn't been it isn't always smooth sailing, but you quickly learn like there's something about the man in the arena that's doing the work. And
welcome to entrepreneurship, man.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. And last year, getting to work with you on the UVI Block Party series has been a huge jumpstart to my career and what's been kind of occurring over the past, we'll even say 6 to 12 months. And when we think about UVI, man, like the whole purpose of UVI, as you know, is to support small businesses, and small businesses in San Jose have challenges that some other small businesses in different neighborhoods wouldn't have. And to be able to support those, we saw on average, anytime we hosted a block party, we saw 125% sales increase for the restaurateurs and the small businesses on the days we hosted a block party. So
before we dive into all the stats and the facts, because I think it's important, but let's give a kind of what the ground looked like prior to these block parties, because obviously we had done it. It's been 3 years that they've been attempting to bring back the vibrancies into the urban cores, not only here in San Jose, but you got Oakland, San Francisco, you got other major cities across the United States that are trying to post-pandemic trying to re-engage.
Absolutely.
Not only because they're trying to re-engage, but downtowns are not the same like they were pre-COVID. You had office buildings that were at capacities. You had a lot of traffic, and obviously the pandemic did some damage to a lot of different parts of the economic engine.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how we're trying to get creative. The cities are being more tolerable, they allow more things to get away with.
Totally.
And I don't mean get away like in a bad way, but they're being more open-minded about events and utilizing the spaces in the or the infrastructures that are already been built in the downtowns. which I think it goes back to what downtown cores were originally supposed to be, to attract critical mass.
Totally.
So now, as they're trying to engage, they're trying to get creative, and these block party ideas, kind of like you said, they were able to create, jumpstart some of these that economic engine that we needed in order to start helping these small businesses survive, because a lot of small businesses, even now, they're struggling because of just, again, it's always one thing or another. But
Of course.
they were dying. Some of them some of them didn't survive through the pandemic, and then some that did started feeling the real effects after the fact. And then now it's like, how do we get that system going?
Totally. And
Yeah.
I think we're to cover a variety of subjects. We'll cover status of downtown. We'll cover Steve Aoki.
Yeah.
We'll cover what's upcoming with 2026.
Yep. And a lot of great things are coming. I think the other part too, I think it's important to cover is the relationships that you were able to establish.
Totally.
I got to give it to you, man. Your work ethic is impeccable.
Thanks, man.
That's why I really enjoyed working with you, because I knew that when things needed to get done, they got done. And it was point and shoot. It wasn't like point and wait. It was like when things needed to get done, they got done. And that's why the execution leading to the event, and then on the day of the events, when we came, it was interesting. We both were in different lanes.
Yeah.
And then on the day of the event, we both came together, and we just knew what needed to get done.
Yeah. And I think one thing I've learned over, you have to kind of accept as an entrepreneur is what I would call the permission to fail, right? Like, you need to give yourself permission to be able to progress, because progress is over perfection, right? Something done at 85% is something then not done that you would have done at 100%. So for me as an entrepreneur, you've learned progress is better than perfection. So we have to progress the project. And if we progress and we progress and we progress, we're going to learn certain things through the execution of the project that we would not have otherwise learned.
Right.
You can sit, you can analyze, you can whiteboard, you can Excel spreadsheet till Timbuktu, but
Which are good, by the way.
Thanks,
like
yeah.
your spreadsheets, I'm like, damn, this is a little too much, but it's necessary.
Yeah, but then when the boots are on the pavement,
Yes.
that's when you learn things that you can only learn from your boots being on the pavement. So
That's right.
you and I always had a great working relationship, because I knew your lane, you knew my lane, and we kept each other playing at our best.
We bumped lanes every once in a while.
course,
But,
yeah.
hey, that's where we learn how to work with each other.
Totally.
Right. It's at the end of the day, it's about execution and the final product.
Totally.
What we think as individuals, those are our opinions and our thoughts. At the end, we have to execute and deliver so that we can have a successful event or a successful project. Whatever it may be, at the outcome or the end product has to be at the highest level.
And back to what you talked about in regards to the pandemic and small businesses and the status of, we'll call it metropolitans, right? These downtown corridors. I think the general public is craving two things: community, because we spent over 2.5 years of not having community due to shelter in place and everything else. The second piece of the puzzle, which I think is certain small businesses are tapping into, but not everyone is, and that's unique experiences. People crave, we'll call it the picturesque lifestyle of the Instagram feed, the photo, the video of like, oh my gosh, where's that? And I think that not only are small businesses tapping into that, but I would say local governments, municipalities are starting to understand that everywhere is a playground, and people are going to spend their time at the funnest playground.
Yeah.
So if
Ooh,
the city,
I like that. Yeah.
So if the city of San Jose is a fun playground, people are going to want to work there. People are going to want to live there.
If you utilize it.
Exactly.
And if you're open, because there's certain pockets in certain areas that they just they're not open-minded, right? I mean, San Jose, third largest city in California.
Absolutely.
We're the tech capital of the world. We have so many great trophies that we can, accolades that we can brag about. But why does everyone keep wanting to go to San Francisco or other places?
And
right?
I think that's the unique experiences, right? When we're talking about San Francisco, we'll just use this as one example. How many rooftop bars are in San Francisco, and how many rooftop bars are in the city of San Jose? Exactly. And there's different reasons behind that. I'm not trying to.
We can have a whole session on just that conversation, right?
And through that process, what we are identifying though is it's also proof of concept, right? Like everything we've accomplished for UVI in 2024 leads to UVI 2025, leads to 2026. It stacks. And, you know, there's a saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Yeah. But if you get it to drink once and they recognize that it tastes good, then you have an opportunity to continue to stack those wins and create something that's unique and special.
Interesting. The first thought that just came to my mind right now when you said that was we actually pioneered what others are now doing, even on a grander scale. Yeah. We also worked with a very limited budget, and we made that budget spread. Yeah, and we made it work. Right. Nobody knows the back end. They only see the final product, and they don't see all the stuff that happens on the back end of this.
Of course.
But they're seeing the front, the image, right? The user experience.
User experience
is like, oh man, this is off the hook, and they're like, you don't even know what it took to be off the hook.
Yeah.
But the point being is that now 2024 was like we set the tone. We had a group that came in, blew it up. Discovery Meadow Park blew it up. They're now making history. I got to give them much props. San Jose Fools.
Absolutely.
Anthony is a visionary. He's got a great mindset. He's got a great vision for what he wants to do. Kid's not even from here, but he loves San Jose as if he is here. So he's rooted now here, and I love that about him. I give him nothing but much love and support for what he's doing moving forward. But you see what they're doing, and now you have all these other groups, MPU, the Midway, Insomniac. I mean, again, going back to the seeds that were planted back then to now where they're going. So
yeah, and I think
growing.
It's proof of concept, right? And what I mean by that is we have the ability to we've had the ability to host block parties, and it didn't start amazing, but we you
tell me what project starts amazing out the gate.
You break a couple eggs to make an omelet, and but once you show that there's a craving for experience entertainment here, that there's a clear demographic of people that feel underserved when it comes to an experience and entertainment economy, and you show that they're craving it, other people that can provide it. You know, all the shows that Anthony produces, I'm a big fan of. I think he does some great work for the city of San Jose. What we did for the Block Party series, even in its humble beginnings, I believe, supported.
You had to start somewhere.
Yeah, supported the city of San Jose in a way that it hadn't been really seen and supported before. And now, as we're looking forward, it's just more players are coming into the marketplace, which makes it challenging. But I would also say makes it exciting, because what happens is
I love competition. We need it.
Yeah,
it keeps us
us honest.
Keeps us honest. Keeps us sharp. Right, iron
sharpens iron.
Right. And I think that if there was none, then we would become bored. And I always look back at my beginnings in the entertainment industry.
Totally.
If I didn't have competition, I wouldn't have gotten to where I'm at.
Exactly.
And when I saw somebody do something that I was like, oh, I could do that better, or I can add to that. It just made me pursue ways to do things at I always say the highest level, because I've always set my standards higher.
Totally.
Right? When we did the block parties, it was how do we do things at the highest level, from production, from visual, from
best in class.
That's right. Oh, I love that. Yes, best in class. Yeah, we just but it comes down to work ethic, right?
Totally.
Everybody has to do their part, and the work has to be done.
Yeah.
So, I know we've hinted at the future, right? And we know that Silicon Valley is about to go through some major. There's just a lot that's happening coming in the next year. We got World Cup,
FIFA World Cup.
We got Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think that John had mentioned the March Madness is coming.
Yeah, and let's give a shout out real quick to John Poach, who brings all these amazing events to San Jose through the San Jose Sports Authority. That dude is a real...
He's a beast.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to bring him on the show here and talk about his journey, because it's Super Bowls that he's brought. He's brought in the skate championships. He's brought in the World Cup. He's brought in a lot of big economic impact type of events.
Totally.
from marathons.
Yeah, rock and roll marathon.
Yep.
And then we can even
Slam Jose.
Slam Jose.
Can't forget about our new. Hey, it's a baby, but don't worry.
Yeah,
that
plug it in, man.
It's growing some legs, baby.
Yeah, plug it in, Slam Jose. And yeah, what's gonna be the most exciting thing about SJ26?
Yes.
And all the big marquee events is how do we fill the gaps, right? Like when there's a scene from the movie Rocky, like the original Rocky, when he's talking about marrying Adrian, my Italian heritage is coming out in a real way, where someone's like, hey, why do you like, I think he's talking to Paulie, and he's like, why do you like my sister? And he's like, we fill gaps, right? Like I have gaps, they have gaps, and together we fill gaps. And I think what the biggest opportunity I see in San Jose is in the gaps.
Yeah.
Right. We already have these marquee events that are going to be driven, and hopefully we have the ability not only to activate downtown, activate outside of downtown, and really maximize our city for all that it has around FIFA, around March Madness, around Super Bowl. But I think there's, Super Bowl is in February, March Madness is in March, and FIFA we know is going to be that June, July timeframe.
And Slam Jose is going to be in August.
And Slam Jose.
I got to plug it in, bro.
No.
Hey,
and Slam Jose is going to be in August.
Really quick, I got to give Steve Weimer a plug on that one, Boys and Girls Club. Because he's the one with the big dream. He wants this thing to compete against Spokane, Washington's Hoop Fest. 40,000 people, thousands of teams, and he wants to make it the largest 3-on-3 basketball tournament in the country. And I'm like, I go, well, man, let's start writing some checks.
Yeah, let's go. But the biggest opportunity lies in how are we able to take the focus of everything that comes around SJ26, expand it to fill the gaps, because this city really at its absolute maximum capacity. I'm going to drop some stats on you and data because I've just been like digging into it. If we looked at, I've analyzed about 15 different venues in our downtown core. Some of them are theaters, and some of them are stadiums, and some of them are local streets that we have historically shut down at scale. The experience economy just through events has the ability to generate over $5 billion of economic impact to the city of San Jose just through events.
Wow.
$5 billion. And that's if we maximize capacity and we sell out every single show and we operate each venue at 365 days a year. Now, the reality of that is, okay, there's certain reasons and constraints that will keep us from really seeing that maximum potential. But we have these big drivers. We have Super Bowl that's going to be bringing in a bunch of people. March Madness that's going to be bringing in a bunch of people. We have FIFA World Cup, which is going to be activating throughout the city of San Jose with a bunch of different people. How are we filling the gaps? How are we making sure that our city provides 365 days of excitement? Like
one of the thoughts that come to my mind when I hear about all these great events is that one of the first things to do, again, going back to the basic principles of what Silicon Valley is, entrepreneurship, right? We don't ask for permission. We just do, right? And what happens is like, for example, Super Bowl, the last time it was here was 10 years ago. San Francisco got all the credit for that. But the Super Bowl was 5 minutes. It's in Santa Clara.
Yep.
So it's 45 minutes away from San Francisco.
And it's 15 minutes away from San Jose.
Less.
Yeah.
I mean, with no traffic, you're there.
You can get there in 5 or 10 if you're really
if you're pressing that gas,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
But I can see it from my building. I can see Levi Stadium. The point is that when that event came by, everybody was like very walking on eggshells and like they were trying to ask for permission. I was like, fuck this. Like, don't ask for permission. Go. Go. This time around, it's like I've told people, and I'm telling all you guys, there are the producers of all these things. Don't ask for permission, because if you ask for permission, you're gonna get smashed.
Yeah.
I'd rather ask for forgiveness later, and not even that. I'd rather just do it. Why? Because that's what the spirit does. We don't. Do you think Steve Jobs went and asked, "Hey, can I create the iPad, the iPod, the
iPhone,
the iPhone"? No, he just did whatever it took. Google, did they go ask for permission to do it? No. YouTube, all these. We're in the capital of innovation. We got to think that way when it comes to creating these events. I mean, and I see that correlation because history has been made in downtown. In the last, literally in the last year or less, from block parties to the first the Gordo event.
Yep, Gordo event.
To the Fisher event in front of City Hall. To the Steve Aoki event.
Yep.
Those are world-class talents being brought into the downtown core, and these events are selling out. 20,000 plus people. The economic impact. I don't see anyone asking for permission. And by doing that, look at what has transpired out of these things.
Totally, and I think it's,
and I don't mean go be a rebel and stuff.
Oh,
but,
of course.
I just like with the less people that give you their opinions, the better that the less you lose the vision, or you get all these people that are just don't see it.
Well, it's easy for someone to eat the pizza when the pizza's baked, right? Like, and what I mean by that is like, it's one thing for me to be like, hey, what type of crust do you want? What type of cheese do you want? What type of sauce do you want? Well, what do you want the toppings to be? Versus like,
too many questions already.
Versus like, here's the pizza.
Yeah.
Do you want a slice?
Yeah.
And I've learned.
And then you look at it, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, going into, for me, it really is that front end work, right? And there's different ways to sell the dream and to get people to be a part of that. But like when we're talking Steve Aoki as just a total reference point, like
let's focus. Let's give that event some credit right now.
Thanks,
some time
man.
Because
appreciate you.
There was a lot of things that went down.
We'll
keep it positive, right?
Yeah,
but
of course.
A lot of things happened, and there was a lot of things happened from the beginning, from the planning, the production, the logistics. And then the end result, which it was kind of expected, the end result.
Yeah.
And then the aftermath.
Yeah, and I think one quick. Let's start from the top.
Yeah,
Okay.
So I laid out
Totally.
the pointers, but
So we'll go to the very beginning, and basically I had started a project within UVI called the Master Calendar, where basically I custom designed a 12-foot. 4 foot wide, 12 foot long, year-long calendar.
I saw that thing, yeah.
And the goal was to catalog every single event that was happening in the city of San Jose. Whether I was producing it, Anthony was producing it, Team San Jose, regardless who it was. Every single event was going to be on this calendar to identify what that kind of $5 billion number was that I just swagged earlier here. And I invited the majority of the event producers in the city of San Jose Sharks, San Jose Giants, San Jose State University, Team San Jose, and the San Jose Earthquakes. And San Jose Earthquakes earlier on, where they came in, they saw it, they loved the project, and they were like, hey, we're going to have something kind of big that we can't talk about right now, but it's going to be landing in this time frame. We know that it's going to be around here. Okay, great. Boom, schedule comes out. Lionel Messi's coming to San Jose.
That's right.
And I go, okay,
and
cool.
For the people that don't know who Lionel Messi is, can you give a little background?
Yeah, Lionel
He's
Messi.
like the greatest soccer player in the entire universe.
Yeah, exactly. He drives an economic impact that dwarfs Taylor Swift's. Yeah. So when Lionel comes to a neighborhood, it really makes a difference to the economic impact of the city.
Yeah. I heard the Earthquakes sold their entire season, their season ticket holders, just off of that event alone.
Yeah, because it provided access to something, a unique experience that everybody wanted. And I won't say who was in attendance, but every tech CEO that you can imagine was there.
Yeah.
Every 49ers player, San Jose Sharks player, anybody who had any certain level of net worth was there in the stadium on that day. And it got to the point where, the PayPal Stadium sits about 17,000 people. They were manufacturing seats to expand occupancy because they knew how successful it was. So basically, I had touched base with my contact over at the Earthquakes, and we went through some opportunities. And basically, UVI Block Party Series had some success. Obviously, the year prior, we had over 20,000 people at San Pedro.
Yeah.
Collectively, we had 50,000 people in the Block Party Series over the 6 events. So we were averaging just below 10,000 people a block party. Yep. We generated over $2 million of economic impact. So the Earthquakes were sponsors of that last year, and they said, hey, what would it look like if we threw just the most amazing block party? And
what would that look like?
What would it look like if instead of local talent, which is what we had kind of seen success from prior, if we brought in a national name? What would that look like? And I threw together a list of names that was, possible or within reach.
I remember that. I was like, keep dreaming, brother. I was like, good luck.
Totally. And
but if the person doesn't, if you don't ask, you'll never know. right? I mean, and you're not asking for permission. You're sharing, or you're sharing the idea. You're asking, hey, they asked you and you delivered you answered their question, basically.
Most of what I would argue is the reality of something amazing. Amazing starts with good questions. What would it look like if we threw the most amazing block party of all time? What would that talent look like? What would we need it to be? What could really generate what we were looking to accomplish? I'd sent a list over of names that I thought could drive the economic impact we were looking for. Now, this is where it gets crazy. So when we landed on Steve Aoki, from outreach to Steve to event day, 46 days.
Wow.
So the entire event.
Normally, those type of events are they go 3 to 6 months in planning. I mean, 3 months is cutting it short, but you're starting 6 months before the event, and then 3 months really engaging. So
Totally. So
46 days is
from
3 months
from outreach. We're not talking signed contract. We're talking outreach.
Yeah,
outreach to event day. 46 days. Obviously, we had over 10,000 people. We had 15,000 RSVPs in less than 24 hours.
Yes,
and it got down to the details. Right, it was everything from what's the footprint? How do we activate a footprint we haven't previously activated from a large scale? How does secondary employment play into this? How did the police department manage traffic flow? What's the economic impact of parking in the near area? Everything from we need to create more emergency exit access.
Right.
Because we have too many people in a confined space. So we have to demo a wall that was there in a normal parking lot. And
I remember that.
It was.
I thought about that too. Yeah, and I saw that wall was.
So it was everything that you could have imagined condensed in 46 days.
Yeah.
And of course, nothing is ever going to be perfect, but what it was spectacular. But what was funny is the really cool things, the memorable moments for me are going to be the things that were the quickest, i.e. sending an email to the mayor's staff. Hey, Steve Aoki's kind of famous for throwing cakes. What is the possibility that we can have Mayor Matt Mahan?
We're going to put that in this production.
Matt Mahan.
We got to get that clip where.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, it's going to.
What's the possibility Mayor Matt Mahan will take a cake to the face? and it was responded within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Wow.
And I go,
I know that wasn't his decision. That was his staff.
Oh, that was 100% a staff decision that led to.
They're like, we want to smash a cake on him, but we're gonna do it in another way. So,
but it's stuff like that. It's the little moments. It's it's everything.
That was the highlight of the whole event. I mean, the media publicity that it got.
I mean, when we're talking about economic impact, like how we measure economic impact, media is one of those ways, right? And that clip was everywhere. And, the fact that we had it on the news, not only just about talking about Lionel Messi, but it kind of just added stickiness to the story. It's not just this, it's that.
Right.
And as we're looking forward to SJ26, I know that there's committees and people and direct employees within the city of San Jose that are focused on making SJ26 the best year ever. And I was so fortunate enough that we got to lay that footprint, and that only furthered my relationship with the San Jose Earthquakes, furthered my relationship with West Bank and the owners of the land and what they're developing and what's coming for the city of San Jose, and the Midway and NPU and those guys who are, just masters of their craft in San Francisco, who generate massive amounts of economic impact. And to be able to have that, collection of misfit toys that put together something to be so unique, that
it's interesting you use the word misfits, right? Because it's almost like we are like a group of misfits, right? Totally. Again, it goes back to not asking for permission. I mean, if you think of the term that we were using in 24, radical
collaboration.
Radical collaboration. Yep. I remember that Gary Dillabov was a big person that was pushing that on us. And radical collaboration. I'm like, and he would get excited about that. I was like, I try to me, when I heard the word radical, I mean, I understand the generation it comes from.
Of course.
But then I adapted it to what he meant presently, and I was like, that's right. This is a radical collaboration. We are bringing others that think or they want to break away from that box.
Yeah.
And then collaborate and do things. So.
And collaboration leads to expansion and leads to, we'll say, growth within the individuals. Like, It's been awesome to collaborate with groups that I otherwise wouldn't have collaborated with.
Yeah.
And now looking at, we'll call it the second chapter of the story, right? Like, it's one thing for me to collaborate with the San Jose Earthquakes on Steve Aoki once. What's our next project? And through that, we learn different aspects of each other, similar to me and you, right? When we originally did that first block party, we learned stuff about each other that led to the second, that led to the third, that led to the fourth, and led to success. And we learned from each other. There's things that you've imparted on me that will be with my career for my lifetime. And I hope that I can say the same thing.
Absolutely. No, there was, you reminded me of, there is an age gap.
Yep. He looks a lot younger than me, though, doesn't he?
Good one right there. I like that. The experience, though, right? Even though they may be in different times, they're still experiences, right? And if anything, I always looked at us as a partnership and a team. I'm better or who's first or second. No, it was how do we collaborate? How do we come into this equally? Yeah, there may be things that I know that you don't, and there was things that you knew that I wasn't aware or up to. It's just different times.
Yeah,
and that was exciting because at the same time it was engaging my creative process,
of course,
and making things exciting again for me because I've also known that you can't do the things that you've done in the past the same way. You cannot apply those today because things have evolved and changed.
Totally.
I mean, look at social media, right? Entertainment, the entertainment industry used to be hand-to-hand combat with flyers, right? It was going to the malls. It was going to flyering parking lots. It was
that's illegal, by the way.
Yeah. Now it's and then when social media came in, it was like, oh, that's not going to ever exist.
Totally.
But I do tell people that God forbid that social media goes down because my skills will come out and I'm like, right? So, but the point being is that things evolve, right? We're not listening to cassettes in the car anymore. We're not listening to CDs in the car. We don't even listen to radio anymore.
Yeah,
because things evolve. So processes evolve. Things are always continuously changing, and I think that's where the collaboration just is like, damn, we definitely learned. I learned a lot.
Yeah, and what's funny about evolution through the process is like, I agree with you that things evolve. I would also say that the flywheel of what the actual soul of something is stays the same. If we look at social media as opposed to how you guys used to do the traditional marketing in the entertainment industry, it's content, distribution.
Yeah,
it's that simple. Social media today, content. What does the content show?
Yeah.
How many people can you distribute it to?
Right.
When you look at flyering, right? You have the content of the flyer.
Yeah.
How many people can I distribute this to? And then there's a percentage of those that will attend,
right?
And that's how you sell a show.
Crazy, because that stat. We used to for each event we would print out 10,000 flyers.
Yep.
And we would expect between 6 to 7% return on 10,000 pieces
of content.
Yep. Now you produce content and you need thousands and thousands and thousands of views to get that small percentage of actually of conversion.
Totally, it's a numbers game. It's how do I distribute this content to the demographic. Now, when you can get more intelligent of like you're distributing it to the content, the segmentation of the people that want that content, right? Like, I got a lot of stuff coming up in 26 that I'm really excited about, but some we can't talk about. We'll talk about live shows because I think live shows is definitely where the career is heading, and I think where there's opportunity in the marketplace. But like, if I host a country music concert,
which by the way, I think that it's super needed.
Yeah,
I've been talking about that since 2022.
But I don't think that Mauricio Mejia is probably going to be the person that I'm going to focus my marketing efforts on.
That's right. And I agree with you 100%. You have to know your market.
Yes. It's going to be a different group of individuals. But at the end of the day, it is simply a numbers game. Yeah. If I want 1,000 people to show up to my show and I know that there is a 10% return, I have to then make sure that I market to the amount of people I need to get for that 1,000. Right.
You have to geo-target. You have to hit demographics.
And then what are the vehicles?
That's
and
right.
where are those people located?
That's right.
I might see more QR code scans in a particular area of San Jose because I realize that more people are going to XYZ and I can hang posters up there and that's going to be my return. The other one is I can segment an audience that focuses on the marketing within the individual area of where I'm activating or people that like this particular thing.
Right.
And then I just hammer ROI on that purpose. And it's pretty simple. Like, can you spend less to acquire a customer, CAC, customer acquisition costs? How much does it cost for me to acquire a new customer that then spends X?
All these acronyms. I never even heard of this kind of
yeah,
stuff.
So,
you know?
and really, to give credit where credit's due, like Gary Delabuz kind of put me on this, but it's really focusing on what is the customer acquisition cost for everything that we do. It's not just like, don't get me wrong.
That's that tech sales side of him,
Yeah.
though. And that's good because it's giving you something to
pull from and
be analytical about it.
It's a different perspective. It's like, hey, I can, and then the question is does the CAC allocate to the amount of revenue I need for this particular event, right? So like for me, if we're hosting, for example, if I'm looking at the block party series, right? We know a block party costs this amount of money. Is the
can we share what an average price of what
average price for a block party looks about $30K.
Okay.
$30K is a good number for a block party. We can chip away at it.
Yeah.
We've done one.
No, and again, there's no ROI on that.
Yeah, because it's a free event. But the ROI that we are generating is around city economic impact.
Correct.
So there's a study that was done by I'm going to mispronounce it, but Associates of Arts, specifically for the city of San Jose, on what the economic impact is for every single individual customer that comes to a nonprofit event. So if you're coming to a nonprofit or arts event to the city of San Jose, you financially are worth $42.88
per head.
Yeah. Now that is a blended cost or a blended average of people that live outside of the city of San Jose and people that are residents of the city of San Jose. The blended number is $42.88. So if I spend $30,000 on a block party and I bring 10,000 people.
10,000 people, yeah.
It is a net positive for the city's economic impact. And then we add other layers on top of that. What's the additional parking revenue that we generated from these people being here? What is the additional sales tax revenue by driving revenue for the different restaurateurs to have an increase in sales on that particular day? That is the math that we can start to allocate. And then it becomes purely analytical. Like, don't get me wrong, the city of San Jose is a highly cultural place. Yeah. And we need to celebrate those cultures in their individual expressions to really, that's really what makes the city of San Jose so unique and what makes it different than any other city in the state and also, I would argue, in the nation. But really, if we're looking purely numbers, how do we drive an economic impact, that $5 billion number that I said, how do we start chipping away at that number to where maybe we're activating only 5%, 10%, 20%? Now, I'm only one event producer. There's only so much my organization can do. And through kind of the growth of my company, we've had to bring on employees. And now I'm kind of going into a new role where it's not necessarily 100% executional, but it's more about stewarding really great talent to be able to take us to places that we otherwise wouldn't go. Right. But how do I carve out my own percentage to have that economic impact for the city of San Jose? And I would challenge every event producer to know that number and calculate it. I know that from the last time we had this conversation, from the very last time we had this podcast, I've generated $2.7 million of economic impact through my actions through the city of San Jose.
I think you've done more. I mean, if you really think about it's got to be more than that.
Yeah,
it's got to be. I mean, but fair, okay.
But it's at least $2.7 million of economic impact.
Easy.
Because through that, I can call out the events and call out the numbers and the statistics. But really, in any other world, if you're a burger restaurant, you got to make this, you got to sell this many burgers. What's your break-even point? What's your profit point? And how do you market to the amount of people you need to market to generate that amount of burger sales on a consistent basis? Why don't event producers do that? Because the reality is we're either doing events for two reasons: to make money or to generate economic impact for the city that we represent. Right. And if we're doing those two things, it's like, okay, if I want to make money, I know I need to sell this amount of tickets. I can spend this amount on a show. Yeah. This is where the profit margin is gained.
Yeah.
If I'm doing it for the city of San Jose, it needs to be the same equation. It's just instead of the equation of the money going into my pocket, it's going into the economy of the city of San Jose.
And then you get into the different different layers, right? Because now when you're doing stuff with cities, like let's not just isolate San Jose, but you start getting into those government, working with local governments,
Totally.
or organizations.
Yeah.
Then you're limited in budgets.
Of course.
Right? So private sector versus public sector, right? I know that, for example, let's use the event that was done at City Hall. That event, easily close to $1 million in production and talent.
Yep.
That thing probably generated 3x of what that production was. It'd be interesting to see what kind of economic impact it had. How many people actually stayed after.
Yeah.
Did people get hotel rooms? Did they? I mean, again, hotel,
Absolutely.
restaurants,
Parking.
parking. Because right now, obviously there's a big incentive in trying to lure people to stay and not have to pay, or at least to give you the first 3 hours, whatever it may be. But it's interesting to see at that point when it becomes private, how much of that stays with the house versus how much it overflows, right? Versus we know that if it's a nonprofit event, it's nonprofit, right? You at least try to cover your costs with sponsorships and whatever capital is
Vendor
raised,
fees,
and all that,
running a bar, et cetera.
right? And then and then at the end you see that the event was a success because it was able to cover the basics, but because we didn't take down per person so much, how much of that extra if they had did they leave behind?
Yeah, and I would also argue. I'll say
if that made any sense.
Yeah,
right?
it does. It made sense to me. I'll say three things.
Yeah.
One, the house always wins.
That's right.
Two, we need the house to win, because the reality is nobody works for free. So if we have the ability to do for-profit events that lead to them being able to produce the next one,
Right.
then it's worth it.
Yeah.
Look at Anthony in his career, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, he runs social media and does a variety of other things. And though we compete, I got to give respect where respect's due.
Yeah.
Gordo led to Fisher, leads to Dioro and Larry June.
Yeah.
Block parties, free block parties, leads to, well, technically, if we're being honest, Taco Throwdown
Yeah.
leads to block parties,
Yeah.
leads to massive block parties, leads to Steve Aoki, leads to what's next.
I'm just excited because, again, it goes down to community,
Totally.
right? I mean, there's a lot of other things that I'm working on right now that just today we had a meeting with the Bay Area Panthers, right?
Oh, nice.
I'd rather they be the San Jose Panthers, but
Don't we all?
it's things are in the works. I'm also exploring other sports activities. Soccer is another one that we're exploring, but basketball and soccer just seems like that's and indoor football. That whole. Eventually, we'll graduate into the professional higher leagues, but right now you got to start somewhere.
Like I talked about earlier, it's like you learn from being in it. Once you're in it, you learn. And I think that, the live production asset, like we had the ability to do live musical acts every time we did a block party. And we've gotten to test, okay, what happens if we do a 1,500 band? What happens if we bring Steve Aoki? What happens if then we go back? What's funny is we did a block party after Steve Aoki, and it was just as successful. We had 7,000 people for a local talent who will eventually be a big name. I'm going to give a shout out to Danny V, but Danny V's a local kid who went to San Jose State University who's been, doing some R&B shows down in like Watsonville, and we brought him up and he brought a crowd, right? Because we're starting to stack wins. And now I'm moving from a little bit of, not just show production, but how do we incorporate? We talked about BQ, shout out Culture Night Market, early mornings, late nights, and someone who I immensely respect in this business who we're starting to find our lanes.
I got to actually give it to him. During the pandemic, he went through some shit.
He did.
I mean, they put him through the coals. While they were all these, I call it these little pirate. I was guilty of it. These little pop-ups.
Yeah.
He did it the right way.
Yeah.
And he's got it down to a science now.
Totally.
And he's built great relationships.
Absolutely.
Now what I've been telling him is BQ. Stop asking for permission. Just do it.
But we're starting to carve out, we'll call it, these lanes of expertise, and most of those expertise, I think, are being garnered from historical reference that can only be pulled from the different cultures and subsets that we've came from, right? Like, so BQ was a sports guy. He's told you here on the podcast.
Yeah.
He grew up doing sports, so now he's starting to carve his own lane in what I would call sporting events, which is something that, like, that's
what we brought him on to Slam Jose.
Exactly, right?
He definitely a big success. Part of it was because of his network.
Exactly.
I just reached out to him regarding soccer because he's doing the futsal.
He's doing the futsal.
He's trying to tie in himself to the earthquakes.
Of course, him and Mike Lee. Mike Lee, Manicore, signage, and just all around entrepreneur that you should have on here as well. But they have a golf tournament.
Mike's busy, bro. Mike, what's up, bro? You gonna come on my show or what?
Mike Lee with the call out.
I gotta call him out now. There you go.
Mayor, social mayor of San Jose.
No, you can't take my title away. Oh, he may be San Jose. I'm still a Valley.
Big dog coming through. But
the flex on him.
But we're starting to carve out elements of how do we make this production, or how do we really individualize these different event producers, right?
Yeah.
So for me,
everyone's got to have their carving out their lanes.
Yeah. And then there's times where lanes cross over, right? Yeah. Like me and BQ have been talking for a long time about when we're going to collaborate, and I think it's going to be coming soon. But it's how do we take the my skill set as a DJ to help introduce new music to the market of San Jose. And what's funny is sometimes I'm getting introduced to new music that I otherwise wouldn't have known about. And how do I carve that lane from a live show production, not just in EDM, but also in hip hop, in R&B, in jazz, And I think it's about, my, as an event producer, as a placemaker, my job at its core basic pillars of this is what I'm doing is to bring communities together. And the best way to do that is find commonality. Everyone in today's, you have Democrats and you have Republicans, and regardless of whatever side you have on, it's so adversarial. Mm-hmm. And I'm all about how do we build community, and we build community through commonality. We build community through identifying subcultures and things that we can commonly celebrate with one another.
Right.
And how do we align those things and then manufacture it to where people come together and celebrate the thing that they love the most collectively. Right. And that's what we do.
Agreed. I think that's where our creative sides allow us to express unity.
Of course.
Events bring unity. And again, it just brings that moment of just everyone just come together.
And I think kind of we'll call it the last point I really want to touch on is, like, once you recognize that, once you quickly recognize what I'm doing for a living actually has zero to do with how great I am. Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm fortunate enough. I come from a faith-based background. You and I have talked about it a lot. I'm a Christ follower through and through. But once you recognize that it's not about you, and ego can be removed, and it's really about providing the best environment possible, best in class possibility for the subculture in which you are celebrating. Yeah. That's where the magic is made. That is where the opportunity lies. It's not about how great Zach Waldren is. Right. There's going to be an event producer that comes before me. There's been event producers that have came after me that can beat me at the game.
I know that feeling, brother.
You are.
I know personally that feeling. Yeah.
You are always one at bat away from a strikeout. That's the reality.
I always tell, and this was taught to me by my mentor, Mauricio, you're only as good as your last party.
Yeah, it's your last at bat. Yeah. And momentum builds, and if you can't capture that, like we did Steve Aoki, that's great, but Steve Aoki's gone now. Yeah. What's next? If we have the ability to really remove our ego and
I like that, man. What's next? I like your a couple of the gems that you've dropped. Best you used
best in class.
Best in class, man. That's like, for me, it's highest level, right? I want to do business always at the highest level. I want to do things at the highest level. I want people to understand that those are the standards that I want to work by.
Absolutely. So. And what's funny is you identify really quickly when you are operating or in pursuit of best in class, you will naturally attract other people that are in the same pursuit.
That's right. And then people call that the attraction, right?
Yeah. You attract what you put out in the universe.
Right.
So if you're executing best in class or you're going in the pursuit of best in class.
Right.
Because like I said, it's not about, no one hits a home run at their first at bat. Yeah. They just don't. And if you do, it's beginner's luck, and then you strike out the very next one.
I was watching two movies I watched this past week. I saw Lamborghini.
Yep.
Amazing movie. How him and Ferrari cross paths. Had Ferrari, just that whole universe.
Yep.
I'm a fan of both. Though I'm a Ferrari guy. And then the Michael Jordan, the Air.
Oh, Air's great.
That movie, yeah. It was inspiring. I was like, damn. It just to think of the impact that those universes or those experiences have.
It's industry changing. And as we talked about our events, like though they might be small scale, they are also big scale. And we are changing how our little neighborhood, call me the Spider-Man, if you will, that we're able to change the way that those particular events are perceived. Yeah. And it allows us to then go on to the very next opportunity. And I hope that, when we sit down for this conversation a year from now, we can talk about the build of not only where we were last year, but where we are from this year and this point forward.
I think what's some of the things that have made things different from the past to now is that we also have a lot of different tools. And you use a lot of different tools in order to collect your data because you're very data-driven as well. And your stats can be backed up by data points. Mm-hmm. I know that there's the AI technology. There's the one that you use for capturing how many people are in a certain area. There's a software.
Placer AI.
AI.
And what's funny is Placer AI is not a new tool. It's been a company for many, many years. It's just how are we shifting the perception of how we're using that tool to our particular industry. Yeah. That content distribution conversation we had, that's a marketing plan for any tech company, for any restaurant, for any event producer, for any car salesman on planet Earth. Content distribution. Wow. Placer AI is actually a real estate tool that people use to then price what they're selling on a price per square foot because they're showing foot traffic and demand based off of cell phone technology, pinging. Big Brother's always watching. I'm sorry, it's just a reality.
They're listening.
But it's cell phone pings that are within a confined period area for dwell time. So you'll hear a lot of people talk about, hey, we had 10,000 people at Steve Aoki. That's cool. Sounds great. How long were they there? That's the other question. And a lot of event producers don't do that. But the reality is you need to look at dwell time. Yeah. Is my event cool enough that they stay? Or is it cool enough that they go, they get a burger, and they leave? Right. We're looking at dwell times when we're talking about the Gordon Biersch Night Market, another event series that we run up in Japantown, right? Yeah. Where we bring food trucks and there's a local San Jose jazz band. And it's a pretty night market / stamp style, but our dwell times are, if we're increasing dwell time, then we're creating an environment that people want to spend time in. Yeah. But Placer AI is a real estate data tool where you're able to say, hey, in Santana Row, we have the foot traffic. I don't know this stat, by the way, so don't quote me on it, but we have, 1 million visitors every day. Yeah. Okay, so that means that we can increase the amount that we charge on a per square foot basis from a real estate play because we have proven that the foot traffic of people that want to be in this area and then the demand of the small businesses and or the Yetis or the Bonoboses or pick your brand now want to be, they want to chase that foot traffic. All we're doing is confining that. It's a numbers game. So for me, I quantify how many tickets did we sell or how many RSVPs did we have? Did we see the sales increase? Did we see the parking increase? What's the number that Placer AI said that they were there and how long were they there? Right. And collectively, then we get a pretty good viewprint of like, this is the type of event that we did. Was it successful? Was it not? How would we change the user experience? How would we make it different the next time around to improve on the stats we did? Because all stats provide us is like, this is the benchmark. This is what you actually did. It's one thing for us to walk into an event and be like, yeah, it was cool. Yeah. But like, all right, like quantify that because if you can't, then there's an issue. Right. Because I can't improve. I mean, look at baseball players, man. You're in the Hall of Fame if you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times. Yeah. It's a 300% batting, or it's a 300 batting average. But how do we measure your last season to this season? It's your batting average. Yep. How and that's the viewpoint I take when it comes to events. Crazy. How do we stack like, hey, that night market was better than this night market? Well, how? Tell me how. Yeah. Well, the food trucks are better. that's subjective, dude. Like, you know,
Those are opinions.
those are opinions. Me bringing Steve Aoki might feel like a bigger deal than the block party, and it was by a lot of quantifiable metrics.
Right.
But there's also some that would shock you, because the reality is it's a little bit more on the actual measurables. If you can't measure it, then you're not able to improve.
That's where my head and my stomach start hurting, because I'm like thinking that's a lot of work, right? But because again, we're thinking high level, we're thinking macro, we're not thinking micro, right? But then that's where you have to build your team, right? That's where you start creating the layers, right? Like, let me be the visionary, right? Walt Disney wasn't the guy that worried about the concessions and all the other stuff, but he did the macro, the big thinking, and then brought in the teams and started doing all the other different layers.
And that's where, candidly, we've had the capability. I've been fortunate enough to bring on talented people. That's been the biggest hack, I would say, over the past 365 days from when we last talked. Is it's no longer just on me.
And that's got to be the tough part too, right? Finding the qualified talent with the hunger, the experience, and the ethic, right? The work ethic, because everybody talks about wanting to do it, but once they get into the grind, that's where the floor falls off, man.
And also just what I've hired. So I haven't hired positions. I've hired people. And what I mean by that is I've known I haven't posted job descriptions. There's not been a single job description I have posted for my company today. It is identifying a person, knowing that I can curate the skill sets they don't have, but also the organic skill sets that they do have, bringing that into my organization, and then providing the leadership, but more importantly, providing them the same permission to fail that I have. And then it's like, okay, because here's the deal. Who you work with, you spend the majority of the time with the people you work with. So you better like them. You better get along with them, right? Like, and if you don't, then there's a problem. Like, regardless of their talent or skill, it's about culture. It's about setting a culture of this is what we come in our organization and expect. And if we can build that, and I've been fortunate enough that I've had people in my atmosphere to date that I know can add to that culture. So it's been a little bit less of like, I won't say it's job posting. I'm saying it's direct recruitment. It's like, hey, I want this person to work with me. And so far I've had some, you've had some wins, you've had some losses. There's people I've hired that are no longer with my organization because of, like you said, they get in the room where it happens, and it's the air is a lot thicker than you expect it to be. But at the same time, it's proven to be successful so far.
They interview well, and then they perform poorly. So, and that's unfortunately, that's just the way things are.
Totally.
Man, if people want to get a hold of you to do some collaborations, or actually even bring you on board, I mean, there's people that you never know. You might pick up a client from here.
Hey, happy to.
How can people get a hold of you?
So you can get directly to me, DM me at zach.waldren, Waldren. If you want to contact me directly, if you want to contact my team, it's at, for Instagram, it's at TBD_presents, TBD presents, Tailored by Design. And if you want to contact me,
love that name, by the way, to that. Ever since you said that,
Tailored by Design.
Yeah.
And if you want to contact me via email, it's zach@tbdsanjose.com.
Nice. All right, man. Well, hey, I got to say, and I'm only cutting this off because I know we can go on for hours and hours and hours. We can talk shop about music. We can talk about production and all that good stuff. I'm really excited to see what 26 is looking like. I'm excited to see where you will be a year from today.
Let's do it.
And we will follow up. And and I know I'll probably be in a bigger studio too by then, because this thing is growing.
Yes.
But definitely good luck in what's coming ahead. And I'm always here for you to support, for advice, whatever it may be. Man. I want to see you win, because when you win, the entire city, we all win together.
Appreciate
that. That to me is the important part of all of this. Is earlier I was have a guest that's visiting, and she mentions it's not about the money, it's about the impact. And that really set an impression on me that it goes back to my roots, where I learned that I never chased the dollar.
Chase the impact, and the dollars will follow.
That's right. Amen to that, my brother.
Awesome.
So, well, good. Thank you again. And by the way, just for the record, I think you still hold the highest views. You know, I don't know. I'm gonna have to check our.
I was number one for a while. I think I got overturned, but whoever's number one now, I'm coming for you. Awesome.
All right, man. Thank you again. It's Mauricio Mejia Live. Make sure to tune in, like, comment, subscribe, smash on that subscribe. Right, we're talking.
Yep.
Make sure to check it out. All right.
Like, comment, subscribe. Mauricio Mejia Live on YouTube.